Namaste.
Namaste. Today is Friday. We're back. We're Friday with Friends. I'm Derek. We're Cherry Blossom CBD. We have a great guest on today, Amy Trout Hughes of Marshmallow MBA. Yes, that is exactly what I said. Marshmallow MBA. She makes the best marshmallows on the planet. I've tasted them. I just bought some recently. I can firmly attest to that. I've never tried anything like them. They're unbelievable. So, Amy, welcome.
Thank you, Derek. Nice to see you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It is a good Friday, isn't it? And not necessarily Good Friday. But
not Good Friday.
It's a great Friday. How's that?
I always find Good Friday to be kind of ironic.
It is. And generally stressful because you're getting ready for Easter. This is not good. This is not good.
Confession. Oh my God, I have to go to confession for the first time in a year.
We got a lot to talk about.
I went to confession.
We have a lot to talk about today.
I went to confession in Italy in 2001 for the first time in almost 20 years. And I deliberately went to the booth where the priest spoke only Italian.
That's so funny. So you just walk out when you want to. That's wrong. Okay, so tell us about yourself. Tell us about your story, your business, and like kind of what led you into the confectionery industry.
I describe my career path as much more of a career circus. There is nothing, you could have looked at me 20 years ago and said, what? She's doing what now? Like if you flash back for me, you know, I've been federal government since coming out of college. So oh, wow. I worked at the library. I worked all over the Hill, spent some time in the West Wing, and then ended up as a federal consultant. You know, the late 90s, what was everybody doing? Technology, IT. And so here in DC, where I'm based part of the time, but previously full-time, here in DC, everybody was getting into information technology. You know, late 90s, what do I know about technology? Well, I had a Palm Pilot and and I had used a computer, but I sort of came in through a back door, stop it, because I was doing technical writing. They needed people who could write about user manuals, teach people how to use the software. So that was sort of how I came in. You know, I was a journalism minor. I started out as a journalism major, but I was a journalism minor. So I can put words together. And from there moved into training, because it wasn't enough to give people manuals, because as we all know, no one reads.
No one reads them.
No one reads. No. So I went into technology training. I was teaching Border Patrol agents how to use, we thought it was just going to be how to use the software, but it was actually how to use computers. I mean, because when you tell you're in class, you tell somebody to mouse over something and they go like this on the screen.
Wow.
So we went back to, you know, computers 101. And again, this was 95, 96. 22 years in though, I mean, I had done program management and I was doing business process improvement, and I had moved into cleared space, which basically means you're in darker places and smaller places, and you go from a cubicle to an office, but the office has 5 locks on it and you can't talk to anybody in the outside world. Some warm sandy places, you know, just, I burned out hard. Most people, when they burn out, just look for either an easier gig or the same gig in a different sector. I went to business school. I went to business school with the absolute goal being, I need to get out of federal consulting. I need to get out of federal government space.
I understand that feeling, definitely.
First day of B school, our professor tells us that business school can't be a silver bullet. And then he wants to hear from all of us why we're there in the class. So there's 23 of us in my cohort. And I'm like the 9th person he gets to with the question. And I look at him and say, it's kind of got to be a silver bullet for me, because I can't keep doing what I'm doing. So perhaps that wasn't the best start to my journey. I went to GW Business School through their MBA program. It changed my life. I tell everybody that. Grad school, you learn so much about yourself, obviously, but I think this program was such a good fit for me. And I tell the people that I'm still working with at the university, because I'm doing some consulting over there with the athletic department. I tell every dean of the business school and every person in that business school I've ever talked to, students, faculty, staff, GW Business School changed my life.
How so?
I learned so much about myself, but also school has always been my safe place. I will take risks there. I will be mouthy there. I will challenge people there in ways that I never would in my career. I learned from we did this sort of outward bound thing where we had to do this climbing wall. Now, I'm not the most outdoorsy person. I love sports. I don't like to participate in them necessarily, and so we're on this climbing wall and I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. I'm literally saying to myself, I can't do this. I can't do this. I get up like 2 steps on this climbing wall, fall back, and that's it. I'm done. So I go back and I'm watching other people in my cohort doing this. And if you get up the wall yourself, your team, we were in teams of 3 and 4, you get blindfolded and your team coaches you up to the top of the wall.
Oh, wow.
And I remember saying, this would be so much easier. And then I literally gasped out loud and said, what the hell are you doing? You would rather have other people tell you how to make your journey, how to take your path, find your path, while you're blindfolded and doing nothing for yourself.
Wow.
That's B school in a nutshell for me.
Wow.
Changed everything. Changed everything. I graduated in 2012. I started 2 businesses in 3 years.
Sometimes you just need something to be that
kick in the ass.
That, but also there's I think when it comes to starting business, there's this thing. It's like this lack of confidence because no one, for most Americans, I think we don't talk about this stuff at the table. You know?
No, everybody. You talk about getting a professional job. You talk about a paycheck. You talk about your career path. You know, we talk about universities. We don't talk about trade schools. We don't talk about technical training. And where are we falling down in this country? We're falling down in this country on infrastructure. We don't have people who can do the work of the trades, the professional trades that needs to be done.
That everyone requires. Everyone requires. I mean, plumbers, carpenters, all these people. They're short. All these industries are short on hands. You know.
Yeah, that's Maslow. You talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, where do you start? You start with shelter. And you start with security.
Yep.
Well, not to discount what academics do, but I don't know many PhDs that are going to be able to fix my plumbing.
Nope.
Replace a door. Nope. You know, replace a roof. And yet
I think we look down on these trades. Even when I went to culinary school, people were like, oh, you go to college? Like, well, no, because I wanted to do this, and the only way they don't teach this in college, so for me to learn and master this skill is to go to culinary school. You know,
I'm happy to see in the high schools now the culinary programming that's there.
It's not just home ec, like actually.
Not just home ec, not like what we did 100 years ago.
Yes.
but actually culinary education.
That's good to know.
And I worked with several chefs who they started, here they are 22, 23 years old. They've got 8 years of experience behind them because of culinary training they did in high school.
And that's why when I was coming up, the French and the Italian guys were so much further ahead than we were because they understood that, like, you know, at 12, you can kind of figure out what you want to do in life and start doing it. You know, we're 10 years later, you know, so by the time we're meeting each other in the kitchen at 22, they're 10 years in, You know,
Here you are. You're 18. Now decide what you want to do for the
now
rest
you
of your
decide
life.
what you want to do for the rest of your life, which is going to
And-
change anyway. So you may as well make a decision 6 years earlier.
You know, it's one of the reasons I'm such a champion for community colleges. I wasn't at 18. I think, again, with this whole idea of academics, community colleges really get pushed to the side. And my dad was such a proponent. Economics, bottom line there was economics. And I'm like, no, I want to go to Georgetown. I want to go to Penn State. I want to go to Penn. Well, yeah, I went.
You can. You just go
I
to
went
community
Penn State.
college. Yeah.
Then I ended up going Harrisburg Area Community College. I had some of the best professors there I've ever had.
There you go.
They get
I
the real
think it's
world.
coming back to that, though. I think we're starting to appreciate community colleges again.
I think we have to.
Yeah. People need.
I mean,
people need to be
Who can
trained.
afford? How are you going to afford for Chloe? You know, grandpa there. How are you going to afford to pay $100,000 a year?
I'm hoping my son covers that, but
Maybe she's going to be an amazing golfer.
You never know. Well, we'll keep going. We will. You and I will we'll keep rolling. We'll keep chatting. So I don't want to keep you here all day. You know what I mean? And I will do that. So
The whole afternoon.
what or who inspired you to get into making marshmallows? Like, what stoked your passion?
I've always cooked. I was always my grandma's little helper in the kitchen. I was her mini me. People said I was, you know, the joke in the family was I was my grandmother's second daughter. She had my dad and she had my auntie. And then the joke became I was her second daughter, which I never took as a joke. I was the first grandchild and the only granddaughter. Oh.
Get the fair share of spoiling, did you?
Fair share. Fair share and well earned by doing nothing. So I was always shadowing her if there was a family party or even if it was like just an afternoon thing. We lived with my grandmother when I was little. And then I spent a lot of time with her junior high and high school after my parents divorced. So safe harbor, absolutely safe harbor. She had a sweet tooth like no one you've ever met. I mean, like if there were a Mrs. Willy Wonka, she was that category. And so a lot of times when we were making things, we were making sweets and we had made gifts. I can remember in high school giving my friends gifts that were candy or something sweet. And so as she got older, I maintained the tradition of candy, cookies, whatever it was. Funny story, she had a dog who was absolutely stone deaf, but it hurt her every time she opened the drawer that had candy in it. And that dog was like up out of bed and right there. So after she passed, I still was, you know, maintaining the tradition. And a friend of mine, I had made him a box of marshmallows for Hanukkah. And he was having those and we were drinking wine. And Keith says, I don't know why you're not selling these. You could be the Marshmallow MBA. And I busted out laughing and I'm like, yeah, have some more wine there, buddy. But a bottle of wine later, there we were. So she was the inspiration behind it. Full disclosure, end game for Marshmallow MBA is not candy as just a snack food. End game for us is to be true pharma. Both my grandmother and my brother, end of life, struggled with taking medication.
Wow.
My brother was in hospital and hospice care end of life, so he had IV. My grandma not, you know, there was no IV, but she had struggled taking pills for a long time. They could both always eat marshmallows. They're soft. They dissolve easily. You can get different flavors. There's not much
protein in there, actually.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
Yeah.
There's not much difference between a marshmallow and a gummy, except it's easier to digest. How much fun would it, how much easier it would be to say to a child, never mind geriatric patient or anyone else, but to say to a child, here's your sugar, here's your medicine, and it's in a marshmallow. It's not in a pill. It's not one of those disgusting syrups that makes you want to vomit. I still
bet
remember the taste of that liquid Tylenol. Oh,
someone has probably had the same conversation about 40 years ago when they were like, I think we could make vitamins in gummy form.
Mhm.
Man, you know what I mean? Like, you're crazy.
What the hell's wrong with
We
you?
are. Like, gummies are almost second to pills as like the
Yeah.
second form
Certainly for
of
over-the-counter.
consumable medicine,
Certainly for supplements.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Well,
that's
everyone loves marshmallows. What you did very unique and very loved. Everybody loves a marshmallow. Even me, even though I say to myself, I don't like marshmallows,
a
but
lot of
then
people, the texture.
have them. It's a textural thing, especially the factory made ones. They're like, and it's weird. But then I like marshmallow fluff, so I like the flavor. It's just the texture and the powdery sort of thing on the outside.
Yeah, it's the commercial food starch part of it you don't like.
Yes.
And the commercial, the
that goes
ones
on
that
in
are
the
mass produced. I mean, we say mass produced rather than commercial because we're still commercial. 80% of our sales right now are wholesale. Between 80 and 90% every year is wholesale.
B2B.
B2B.
Okay.
Yep, B2B. We are in 27 states as of this week.
Excellent.
And we went international. Thank you. We went international last month.
Congratulations.
Canada. And then it's about 175 retailers, independent retailers.
Okay. Did you got to do anything special to get into the Canadian market, like the sort of special paperwork or whatever?
Oh yeah, some special paperwork. Some extra money paid to the Department of Agriculture, so we have the paperwork for stuff to go across state lines.
Okay.
And what a shock that every time we ship to a foreign country, we have to ship an original. We can't just get one and make copies of it. No, it's got to have the blue ink.
Are you kidding? Oh wow.
Not kidding.
Wow. So, what exactly is a marshmallow? For those who don't know, and I think most of us don't know, what exactly is it? What's the origin?
Marshmallows are 70% air.
That makes it a really light dessert. And yes, that makes sense. Yeah, okay.
The second ingredient is usually sugar.
Okay.
I would like to say in the case of Marshmallow MBA, depending on the flavor, sometimes it might be sarcasm. So I've got this whole vision in my head. We're changing branding this year. I have this whole vision in my head. Marshmallow MBA, air, sugar, sarcasm. Forget peace, love, and understanding. We've got air, sugar, and sarcasm.
Good sarcasm. I've experienced all three, I think.
Yes, I think you so they're primarily air, 70% air generally.
Okay.
Sugar base, and then a stabilizer to stabilize the air bubbles that are beaten into the sugar. So that stabilizer here in the 21st century is going to be either egg white or gelatin. Generally, it's some type of protein because you need that structure to hold them. There's some water involved, some salt, and then we get into the proprietary stuff that
So they can't be totally vegan. They can be vegetarian because you're still going to have an animal product in there of some sort.
So for ours right now, for our brand for the last 5 years, we are not vegan or vegetarian because we are using gelatin. We're using commercial grade gelatin, which is generally going to be a combination of chicken and pork.
Okay.
We also use beef gelatin by request. Now, we do R&D in the summer, generally in July, because that's our slower time. Plus, we have a big conference that we do in July. We are working on a vegetarian option. Whether I can be fully vegan, I don't know. But I can be vegetarian, I think. You asked what the origin is of marshmallows. We're going back to the roots of marshmallows, literally by using mallow root. So there is a plant.
Marshmallow.
There is a plant.
Fruit.
Marshmallow.
Aha!
Flowering in the swamps.
And this
The
is
Egyptians
in the United States or all over the world?
all over the world, but where marshmallows started was in Egypt,
Okay.
in that region of the world,
Okay.
cradle of civilization.
That's right.
So we go to North Africa, and that's where we start. And we start with the Pharaohs. And there is the mallow root that is pounded and then softened, water. But then there's honey involved. Flavorings involved were probably rose water,
Okay.
and they may have just gone straight honey, because you know how honey will change its taste depending on the season. Oftentimes they may have added nuts or other dried sweeteners, so dates,
Okay.
all pounded together and then let to cure and then cut. So it was more, think of, this is terrible, think of a Kind bar as almost the original marshmallow, if it were softer.
So you said to cure. No, it doesn't like, it just sets, if you will.
Just
it's not
sets.
like a rising or anything.
Right, it just sets. And even
Okay.
even now, when we make marshmallow, we're just heating sugar way up to temp. We add that to a base of water and gelatin, and then we beat the hell out of it for 15 minutes in a high-speed mixer. And then we let it
happening by hand traditionally. Oh wow! Okay.
By hand. It was done by hand traditionally. No.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
So
from, like this.
Yeah. The reverse of Popeye, I guess. So, from North Africa, it made its way to France. Well, everything made its way to France, and the French claim they own everything. I would submit it went from North Africa to Sicily, up through Italy. Mm-hmm. Nougat. Nougat is not too much different from marshmallow, except it's harder.
Right.
So if you go to Florence, my favorite city in Europe, if you go to Florence, they make something called torrone.
Yes.
Which is a nougat with nuts, egg whites, sugar. Wow. Now, work with me here.
Okay.
The French did not invent food. The French did not invent culinary everything.
I know that. They don't know that. But.
If you didn't have Caterina de' Medici marry into the royal family in France,
there you go.
You got nothing. The French are eating
bread. Let the French tell it. There's a lot of things
eating bread and cheese
right over Italy and went straight into France. You know, they're like this whole pathway to France got just told. You know? They flew over Italy. And
so I think marshmallow got to France via Italy.
That makes sense.
The French removed mallow root. Now, whether the French removed it or the Italians removed it, I don't know. But they removed that root, which was the structure that originally held marshmallow together. They replaced it. Either the Italians or either the Florentines or the French replaced it with egg white, because they had.
So the mallow has some sort. It got to have some sort of protein in there to maintain the structure. Or is it starchy?
There's a really disgusting word, mucilage, which is glue. So mucilaginous is what happens when you rehydrate mallow root. So it becomes just like unchilled Jello. You know how when you make Jello with fruit in it, they tell you to rehydrate the gelatin and let it sit until it gets kind of thick?
Yes.
But not firm, and then you add stuff to it?
Mallow
that texture is how the mallow root acts in water. So
I think we just figured out why the French went to the egg whites.
Well, egg whites aren't exactly delightful either when they're raw, but same texture.
No, but they get airy, you know?
Yeah. So same texture. So, and they had more access to eggs, I think, than they did to this plant. Whereas in North Africa, you had much more access to the plant because it grows in swampy, marshy areas.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So July, our R&D period. We have mallow root powder, which we're going to make a run and see how it goes using the mallow root powder and stabilizing aquafaba, which is the chickpea, the liquid from chickpeas.
Smart. Very smart.
We're going to see how it goes.
All right, I'll be a guinea pig.
Yeah, I don't know that the shelf life will be the same. That's my first.
I can imagine that.
So it may be something that we don't do B2B. That may be something we sell strictly retail.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
To be consumed quickly.
Because I know what the margins are. I would be really okay with just selling that retail. Hello, GW MBA.
That's right. Well, I know you haven't always seen yourself doing this. This is kind of like, in a way, it's like a pleasant life surprise, you know, if I'm hearing your story correctly. So now you're like you run this company. You're kind of living out your dream. You're honoring your grandmother and her legacy. So all the aspects of running this like manufacturing plant, like that, the finding talent to the marketing, the social media, which sourcing, there's a lot of things that, hats that we have to wear, sales, inventory management. Like, what is the thing that you're best at, and what is the thing you get most excited about? Like, what is your favorite activity?
I love the R&D. I mean, that, not thinking you know all the answers and then, so.
This is one of the few quiet kind of, aspects of it.
Yeah, it's one of the things, okay, I have to focus on only this. Surprisingly enough, I'm better at sales than I thought I'd be. I don't love it. But I'm better at it than I thought I'd be. And I look at it from prior life. Everything I was doing was customer relationship management. And so that's how I have to look at sales. I can't look at it as, I'm coming in, I'm going to come to your office, we're going to write an order, and that's it. You're going to hand me a check and it's done. Looking at it that way is zero fun for me. It's part of the reason why COVID has been so difficult. I like sales to happen organically. I want to, and I think I learned this spending some time in South America and spending some time in Europe. You have to have a relationship with somebody. You have to want to do business with somebody. You don't always learn that across a table or across a desk.
Right.
Maybe you learn that at happy hour after you've spent half a day in seminars together. Maybe you learn it completely out of the blue, sitting, watching a ball game, and just talking to a stranger next to you.
The worst is when you learn it after you've been entwined with somebody for like 6 months to a year. Like,
Yes, please, let's go back and forth 35 times via email. Now, not to say I don't want to answer people's questions, because making a decision about a product, especially something that people don't normally think of.
Right.
Like when you're thinking about candy, you don't automatically think, yes, I want to stock my shelves with marshmallows. But some buyers are harder than others.
Yes.
I've had days, we've had customers I've gone back and forth with for 3 months, couldn't get them to do anything. 3 months later, they come back and place a $500 order. I'm grateful for that.
It's I learned something in one of my sales positions in the past, and there's like a quadrant, and like people fall into one of these 4 quadrants, and they're like people who are super controlling and they want to control every aspect of the transaction. There's ways to deal with them, and there's people who are like, I just don't want to think, you know what I mean? I want you to do all this for me, and then there's ways to handle it, and the dominant person is just like, you know what I mean? They want to muscle you or overpower you, or then it's submissive. It's always like these things, and you got to know how to deal with them.
I've seen all 4 of those quadrants.
I'm sure. They're all out there. You could see them in a week, Yeah. In a day.
Please really. Go to a trade show and you see them in 3 days.
Yes, you do. Well,
Yes,
I don't want to
yes.
keep you too long. I know we're kind of getting cool and comfortable here, which is good. But I got two more questions for you. First is,
Sure.
tell us more about your beliefs and convictions as it translates to your business and how you communicate that message to your customers.
I believe as a small business owner, a small but growing business owner, we have a responsibility. I have a responsibility as a business owner, and the business has a responsibility to be a good member of the community and to be a good steward of our resources. And when I say resources, I mean it's people, it's place, and of course financial. But I mean, we have to be good members of the community. The team that I work with, one of the things that I try and sort of mentor and coach about is it's not what we're doing doesn't stop in this building, because so many of our sales are to customers who we will never see face to face. We have to do everything possible from here to extend the community to their customers. So when we're packing the candy, it's got to look perfect, or as perfect as we can make it look for a handmade product. Every box needs to go out looking like you'd want to receive it. So when the customer on the other end opens it, they know that we're taking pride in what we're doing. We are, we're respecting the relationship, we're respecting the product, and we're respecting their customers. They're taking a leap of faith with us.
Right.
We're total unknowns in most cases. And so if they're trusting us to create something for their customers that they do see face to face, we have to be respectful of that. We have to honor that. If we make a mistake, we make it right. If UPS makes a mistake, we make it right. So if something happens in shipping, I get that that's out of my control, but that's still part of the whole relationship. So we make it right.
Because what does that mean to the customer when they've spent their money and they're waiting on what they spent their money on? It's really like staying focused sometimes on the transaction. Not like it's all transactional, but understand what the transaction means to both sides.
Right. One of the things that I'm trying to do this summer, I'm bringing in interns for the summer to reach back to customers who may have ordered one or two times and then haven't come back. And a short series of questions. It's 5 to 7 questions. What could we have done better? Here we are going into year 6. What do we need to be doing better? I can't drop my prices. I know that. I know where we're operating and what our costs are. I can't drop my prices, which is always the first thing people want.
Of course.
What I can do is make it easier for the customer by working with other partners. For example, Fair, which is a wholesale portal. When the trade shows went away in 2020, we pivoted and put our products up online wholesale through different portals. The portal does marketing, and this company will do marketing. They also have a lot more buyers than I can reach myself.
Right.
Do I give up a little bit? Yeah, I give up a little bit to use that. But at the same time, my customers get net 60 terms. I couldn't do that as a small business.
Right. Wow.
So that, and so that's that's something that we've been able to do slightly differently. But I know there are other things that we're not necessarily doing as well as we could.
Right.
The goal is 50% repeat business. I'm under 20. So I'm hoping being able to have better communication, stronger communication with current customers and recent customers, that we can get closer to that goal. Most people operate 35, 40% repeat.
Well,
at least
you're not going to do everything right coming out the gate. I mean, you're still in the in the cycle of a business. You're still very young. You're still in your infancy.
Very young. Yeah.
You know?
And having bandwidth and recognizing, you know, one of the lessons learned, hey, guess what? I can't do everything. I can try. And you and I have had this conversation.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of about giving up trust and just stepping into that sort of, you know, the circle of trust, if you will, you know, that you've created.
I'm willing to train people, you know, and I'm willing to find people to train for specific roles. For me, stepping out of the kitchen last year, when I stepped out as much as I did, because of COVID, I couldn't travel from home to where we manufacture. That was an adjustment, but it was an adjustment that had to be made.
Right.
And now recognizing that there are people looking for work. So I have places where I can hire. No one's going to know the business better than I do.
That's right.
Even Sandra's my business partner, still not going to know the business better than I do. Because even as a partner, I brought the business. The business idea started here. But what I can do is make sure that people understand segments of the business and have that authority for those segments. So I want to bring somebody in who handles our special events and weddings. Because the best return on time investment is not to have me dealing with every bride.
That's right. That is absolutely right.
So I'm looking at Stockton University to hire a team of students, you know, juniors and seniors primarily, who can learn about this piece of the business. And then they work the wedding shows. They work the special event shows.
That's right.
Same thing.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Same thing with Comic-Con. Do I like going to Comic-Cons? Yeah. Do I like spending 3 days there behind the booth? No. Hey.
It's okay, but it's, you know, you start, you know what happens? You
stand in line for autographs.
The rest of your business is still going on, and you need to be active and involved in those other things. And like, you start after like day 2, you're like, okay, you know.
Well, I can't go meet Peter Capaldi or David Tennant if I've got to stand there and sell marshmallows. But what I can do, I can hire local students. You get a pass to the con for 3 days.
Yep.
You come work a day and a half, or you come work 2 days.
Right. And make the commitment to do this.
Yeah.
You know, and you get the other day. Yeah, that's good. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
That's a really good deal.
So that's, you know, some of the things, you know, really those are the types of things I need to let go more of as we move forward. There's so much that happens in the back end. I can't work, you know, the last 5 years I've worked 80 hours a week.
Wow.
That's not sustainable.
No. But it's a process, you know, and like, you know, we like a lot of our audience or sort of just friends or some of our people who own businesses, and they look to these videos that we do because that's the whole purpose. We're sitting there talking and you're sharing your story, your challenges, you know, as a business owner, and that could translate to people who are not necessarily making marshmallows or any sort of confections, or even a maker of any sort. It could be in any sort of business. And these problems, these issues, these things arise, and they have to be dealt with. You know, it's something we're all dealing with. So really what we're trying to build with this is people understand that there's a common core, you know, and you're not just out there alone by yourself dealing with all this craziness, because
otherwise you're just running in circles in your own head.
Yeah, and there's spinning plates going on all around you, and they all seem important. You know, you're just kind of like,
yeah.
Yes. So we're going to wrap up, and this is the shameless plug part of the portion of the show. So you tell our audience what you want them to hear about you, Marshmallow MBA, where to find your product, you know, where to spend their $500. You know, come on over. Yeah, you don't have to really spend $500, but
that'd be nice.
She would very much appreciate it.
Derek gets a percentage if there's $500 in sales.
Surprise to me. I don't know.
That's right. One more birthday party. That's so, you know, I think, what do I want people to know? I mean, certainly Marshmallow MBA, and it's M as in Mary, B as in boy, A as in apple. It's MBA, not NBA. I'm
Just
sure.
like the degree, not
It's
like
just
the
like the degree. I'm sure. So we're marshmallowmba.com. We have an online shop. We are entirely e-commerce if we're selling direct to consumer. For wholesale, you can find us on Fair. You can find us at beginning in June. You'll be able to find us on the Good Trends and Abound. I think that's the other one I've got. There's like 4 of them that are going to pop in June.
Okay.
So if you're looking for wholesale, or you can also come to us directly. We keep our wholesale catalog online. You'll need to talk to us about pricing. We just don't keep that online. So you want marshmallows? Marshmallowmba.com, one-stop shop there. We are not on Amazon. Just to be clear.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all I'm gonna say about that.
The other thing, you know, the other shameless promotion, we do something called Marshmallow Monday Live. And that's every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, where we do an hour-long, 40 minutes to an hour, depending on the topic. First Monday of the month is all exactly this. We're talking about small business tips and tricks. It's kind of lessons learned, so you don't have to get wrapped around the axle, or less, maybe you get less wrapped around the axle than we did. Second Monday of the month, we do Small Business Spotlight with one of our either independent retailers, one of our suppliers, or a trade association that we're working with. Third Monday of the month, we talk about trends, and it's trends in either manufacturing or in candy. We mix it up a little. And then the fourth Monday of the month is always a wild card. And that is behind the kitchen doors. That's where you get behind the scenes with us. Maybe it's R&D. Maybe you get to see new products that aren't out there yet. Maybe we're showing you how we're packaging something, or maybe we talk to you about what you'd like to see. You know, hey, here are these flavors. Which one?
I might be down for that. Maybe we'll do an R&D one. And
then we combine that with an Ask Me Anything component, which can be super dangerous. You know,
$500,000 is what I'm asking.
That's right. That's right. Me too. Me too. So, you know, other than that, I still keep my feet mentoring and coaching. I do a bunch of seminars, one of which is going from employee to entrepreneur. And we talk about, you know, I talk about my journey, but also how to get out of your own way.
I think it's very valuable. A lot of people need to hear that.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. Everything's got a sense of humor about it, but you know, you got to be rational.
Where can people find this training?
Information on that's available on my LinkedIn page.
Okay. All right.
And then I lead a mastermind. We're called Broad Bosses, and we every 2 months, a group of us. We limit it to 8 women. Preferably women business owners, but we've also brought in other folks who are considering becoming business owners.
Okay.
And we will talk through the challenges that we've had for the last 6 to 8 weeks. Safe space, always cocktails involved.
Always cocktails involved.
But you know, we'll talk about anything from, hey, I want to push a new product out to the wholesale market. I'm not sure about pricing. Or I'm thinking of shutting down my business because I'm entirely burned out. So it really runs the range. You know, I do it because I enjoy it. The thing I miss most about a more traditional business setting, I don't have the opportunity to coach as much as I would like to. And so this is kind of my way of giving back. And again, being a good member of the community, however I can. So yeah, that's our shameless plug.
That's it. I love it. I couldn't have given you any better than that. Man. That was
Come see us in Columbus, July 20th and 21st. We will be at the Retail Confectioners International Expo, which is a trade show. If you come on out and see us.
Columbus, Ohio.
So it could be interesting.
Ohio, Columbus, Ohio.
Yes.
Okay. All right. You heard it there, Amy. Thank you. I know. I wish we could talk like all the afternoon, but we got, we got work to do. We have work to do.
We'll do one of these over on my Marshmallow Monday Live.
I'm down. Maybe when we're doing R&D, we can kind of go back and forth. You know what I mean?
Maybe we'll just do it over cocktails on a back porch somewhere.
Hey, we can do that too. All right.
All right.
Maybe I'll still be drinking by then. Considering giving it up. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel the same anymore. It's just like too much recovery time.
Maybe you're drinking the wrong thing.
That's what I'm saying. I need to go to like water.
You need to be garnishing your specialty cocktails with a marshmallow.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, all right. That'll be the ultimate R&D right there. Yes, we will definitely do that.
Done.
All right.
Always good to see you. Thank you so much.
Always good to see you. Cherry Blossom family, you heard exactly where you can find Amy. If you are a business and you're looking for products, if you're a consumer and you're just looking for some really cool treats for yourself, for your family, your event, for a gift, Marshmallow MBA is exactly the place to go. The best marshmallows you will ever have in your life. It's really a game changer. Like it's not even close. So Amy, thank you. You guys please comment, like, subscribe, share, of course. But if you have any comments, if you have any comments from me or Amy, just put them right in the comment section. And if she doesn't see, I'll make sure that she gets the comments or get answers.
Sometimes I need a keeper.
All right, sometimes, right? Amy, thank you. Go enjoy that beautiful day. It looks great back there. All right, you have a good one.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.